Hello and welcome to the LFC Transfer Room podcast. My name is Rigo. I'm joined by my co-host Damon, and today we have a very special guest, Jacque Talbot, transfer news specialist and journalist who's joining us on today's podcast. So a very exciting podcast for you today. First of all, let's start off with the particulars. How are you guys doing today?
Do you want to go, Damon?
You know what? I'm so deflated after the other night in terms of the game, but it's hard to get excited at the moment with Liverpool fans. It's hard to get excited for the game, and I'm glad we've got a week off. To be honest, I'm so happy we've got a week off. I've never looked forward to the international break in my life, but this week I am.
That's saying something, isn't it? Yeah, sorry. I feel okay. My club beat Wolves last weekend. We're playing Forest. I don't know. Is this live? I don't know if it's live or not.
No, it's not live. But
it's not live. Okay, so it may have beaten Forest or got thrashed or whatever. So, but yeah, at the moment I'm okay. But that could change in a couple of hours. Yeah.
That's why we're doing it this time. So,
we
are
recording.
Yeah. I get in a bad mood after.
So yeah, we're definitely recording pre-match between Newcastle and Nottingham Forest. So we're getting him on a good beat. But the way Newcastle has looked, they'll probably be able to scrape out a win against Forest there. But
yeah.
All right, awesome. Let's start off a little bit, just a quick reflection on our Champions League exit.
Do we have to?
just a quick touch base. I think we kind of knew it was barring a miracle of miracles over at the Bernabeu, it would have been a foregone conclusion that we'd be bowing out with that 3-goal deficit. I would have wished we would have scored at least a goal there, make it a little interesting. Knocked a couple of times, Darwin in particular, but weren't able to break through and make a match of it, unfortunately. Damon, I'd like your thoughts on that, and Jacque, if you'd like to share your opinion as well.
What really got to me was the lack of effort. I think for me, effort comes before anything else when it comes to sports, especially sports and sports people. You know, you're born with sort of that effort, and that, especially like the Trent. You know, you're born Scouts, or born in Liverpool. That should just come, already intact. So the lack of effort on the pitch to me was the most worrying, more than the actual talent itself. Regarding the game and chances, I think we could have had Real Madrid that night. I really do. There's so many chances we had to create, but it was that last pass, that final pass each time, just wasn't good enough. It was either overhit, a lot of overhit. The crossing was terrible, the corners were terrible, and I just felt like it was a missed opportunity for him, honestly. Missed opportunity, big time.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jacque, with your feedback on that.
I'm a little bit more well, not to say optimistic, but I didn't think Liverpool played bad. It's always going to be a hard game there, and it is hard to get that mentality when you're going to the Bernabeu with a 3-goal deficit behind. Did they play well? No, but they just kind of nullified each other. And then obviously when it got to sort of like 65 minutes, there's not much you can do. It takes something extraordinary to turn it around. And then obviously they got the goal at the very end. So for a third of that game, they're probably just playing just to play, to see it out, because they didn't get the goals they needed. I think it's probably compounded a little bit more with like the Barcelona win from a few years ago, where you turned it around in Anfield and stuff, and you're kind of going, can Liverpool do that again against a La Liga team and stuff? But that was just like 1 in a million kind of thing, and as it is, that was like a collapse from Barcelona, as good as you were kind of thing, and maybe that didn't help. I feel like maybe if that Barcelona game hadn't happened, you'd be going into it with a bit more like, yeah, we'll just try and give a good performance. But it is Liverpool on the European occasion, so you do have that sometimes expectancy. I wouldn't say Liverpool played bad. They didn't play bad. They played sort of below moderate, I guess. But I get also that that's going to happen because of the scoreline. And maybe if it was the other way around, you were going to Anfield in the second leg, that would have helped as well.
Yeah, definitely. Very, very pushing a boulder up a mountain there, trying to win at the Bernabeu, period. And definitely with a 3-goal deficit, nearly impossible. And it proved to be impossible for the team. Didn't help, obviously, losing Stefan Bajcetic, as we found out just recently that he's gone for the year. And a midfield starting two of Milner and Fabinho definitely isn't a recipe for success. Not in the year 2023, at least. But moving on from that Champions League disappointment and looking forward to what can possibly be in Liverpool's future. A name that I'm sure you get asked about multiple times a day, and you've been talking nonstop, as well as many other pundits or transfer gurus, is Jude Bellingham. Rio Ferdinand, Manchester United legend, came out recently and said that based on Liverpool's poor season and the possibility of them failing to qualify for the Champions League, that Jude would bypass them. I know you have your thoughts on that, Jacque. To the contrary, so if you could share that with our audience.
Yeah, no, he said after a game, and I get it as well. After a match, everyone's sort of reactionary. Like after my team losing stuff, I think the world's ended and we need to sack a manager. Or if a player had a bad game, say if it was like Bruno Guimaraes had a bad game, it'd be like bin him, like send him to the reserves kind of thing. And I feel Rio Ferdinand was like to watch that game, and I'm not saying like, oh yeah, he's going to choose Liverpool over Real Madrid. But I feel just to disregard Liverpool on the basis of one bad season. And I get it, like, it is a bad season. It shouldn't happen. It's Liverpool. Like, you just got so far, and all of a sudden you're just sort of falling behind, and you're playing like James Milner in midfield in the Champions League, against Real Madrid. It shouldn't be happening. But also, 2 domestic titles last season. I think that's right. Runner-up in the Premier League to Man City with, what they've got. Financially and stuff, and runners up in the Champions League final as well. And I don't think, okay, it is a blip. Maybe this time next year, if the same thing's happening, then yeah. But with regard to Bellingham being like, yeah, Liverpool, they're not going to be in the Champions League. He's 19 years old. He's going to have loads of offers in. I don't think he's going to be like, well, they're not in Champions League this season. I ain't going to bother. Liverpool traditionally are so good at selling their project. They have one of the world's best managers there. It's something they can build a team around him. I suppose why I'd say like maybe even Liverpool have the advantage over City. There's no City fans to watch this kind of thing, but perhaps. But like, Liverpool have the prestige, they have the badge, and they also have they can offer Bellingham to build the team around him. And I don't think Bellingham goes to Man City and he's a superstar. Haaland's there, that ain't going to happen at City. Real Madrid a bit more so, but yeah, I don't think. Basically, what Rio said was, I don't really agree with it. I don't think, oh yeah, because of like one season Champions League. I mean, he's got points, but it's bigger than that. Like,
do you think it was coming from like a Man United fan perspective? That's sort of the banter you sort of push around.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have a list of sort of favorite pundits and stuff, and Rio's not really up the top, but I feel he's been around enough to put that sort of bias aside. For me, I feel it's more a reaction of the game he saw. I'd be like, yeah, Real Madrid, what are Liverpool doing? And, Milner's there and stuff. And I get it. If you're there on the night, I know I keep mentioning Milner, but you get my point. Milner's there, 37 years old. And yeah, you're kind of going, what's going on with Liverpool? Why is Bellingham going to... And he was probably asked that as well. Like, what do you think Bellingham's doing? And he's like, yeah, like, why would you go here when... Real Madrid, who have their own problems as well. I don't know what's happening with Ancelotti. Like, I don't know if he's going to be there for a long time and stuff.
Brazilian national team coach rumored, right? Supposedly.
Right. I mean, that could be something, yeah. But I mean, they're up in the air. They could have Pochettino and stuff. So there's a lot of loose ends there, I suppose, as well. With Liverpool, Klopp's going to be there to 2007, you'd imagine. So, yeah, I don't know. It's not as cut and dry as what Rio's saying.
I wonder what Rio's...
Sorry, Jack, from your point of view regarding Bellingham, how serious are Liverpool about this then? Are they really going all out for this?
It seems to be that way. It seems like that is their target. You had the midfielder you missed out on last summer who went to Real Madrid. His name was right, yeah. So then it was all about Bellingham and getting him in. And then there's been conversations taking place and stuff. But again, it's like you can go to any club and they'll be like, oh, we're confident about Liverpool. I'm sorry about Liverpool, about Bellingham coming. They're all kind of saying that. But it's just from like speaking to various people and picking up, it just seems to be that way. Even people maybe near to Birmingham City as well. It just seems to be that that's the direction it's heading at this moment. And I'm also wary of like the transfer market is so capricious. It's just like anything can change. And that's not a get out card, but that's what makes me wary about going like, oh, that's happening. because I've done that before, and it's not nice if it goes south, right? But that if I was a betting man, then it'd be Bellingham at this moment in time. Couple months yet. I think there sounds, well, maybe he's going to be choosing in a month or so, maybe weighing up his options, because he's going to have so many options. But it seems to be a real confidence coming from Liverpool that he will go there. And that's what I'll relay rather than say, in my opinion, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard you reference previously certain Liverpool legends that, not to be named, are pretty adamant that he's on his way to Anfield. So hopefully they're correct as well.
Finnan. No, checking. Yeah. There's been a few.
As far as financially, it's been quoted around 130 million. I don't know if euros or pounds at this point that it would take to pry him away from Borussia Dortmund. How amenable do you think they'd be to installments as far as paying that out? Just because we know how tight FSG's purse strings can be.
It's a great question. I don't have the answer. It would obviously be very favourable for Liverpool if it was 70 million and 50 million or something like that. I would say, just from the outside looking in, like, Dortmund won't be the club to be like, what? Oh, is he gone? All right, he's had enough. He won't be the one to be like, oh, we're just going to send him to any old club who make the highest bidder. I'd feel they take into consideration Bellingham's decision over where he goes, over like having the most money. So that would be important as well. For instance, if Bellingham didn't want to go to, for example, Chelsea, but Chelsea put in 140 million pounds, but Liverpool put in 120, I don't think Dortmund would be like, oh yeah, we're just going to send you to Chelsea because they paid a bit extra. I feel they'd be a club to sort of be in tune with what that player would want because of how much he's given them and stuff like that. So, but in answer to your question, sorry, I would like to know. I would like to know that. I don't know.
Plus, it benefits them to kind of guide a player to where he kind of wants to be his next destination based on their model as far as recruitment, just like they did with Sancho and other players as well. So I could definitely, hopefully see that, and hopefully in Jude's heart, it is Liverpool that he wants to go to.
For sure.
Moving along from the big topic of Jude, we'll move on to another player starting with a J, and that's Josko Gvardiol, who's being touted about as a potential target to come to Anfield. Supposed $100 million release clause to be activated, I believe, in 2024. What's the latest on that rumor?
Yeah, no, I laughed because I can't pronounce his name, and you did it so well, and I just got really jealous. I was like, how do you do that? The Leipzig defender. Anyway, yeah, so that's something I heard, I think it was the tail end of January or it was the start of February. I think we were the first to that. I could be wrong, but I think we were the first ones to release information about him, unless there was rumors last year, but I don't know.
I didn't see anything from last year, no.
Oh, really? Oh, well, there we go.
I think we were the first ones, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so he is up there, but it's just the money. And Chelsea, again, Chelsea, City are just in there as well. There doesn't seem to be much confidence in that. I think in an ideal world, they love for him to come in. But there is, the price and also the priority there is with Bellingham and all the other midfield problems they got, that's not really going to happen. I mean, unless something changed in that regard. But he didn't play very well recently, did they, against Man City? So maybe that's reduced his price a little bit. I'm not sure. But yeah, no, it wasn't the best performance. He had a really good World Cup. But Leipzig will be determined to get a high price for him, I imagine. And obviously, you've got the other interest. I wouldn't put much into that. The other names we did say is Antonio Silva, which I think Goal have picked up on now through their own information, not from our, they're talking to their own people. But again, that would be because he's doing really, really well. So it goes up to sort of 100 million. And then there's the Sporting Lisbon defender whose name I can't pronounce as well, who begins with an IN, but he's another one we listed.
Ignacio, who was playing yesterday, Ignacio, I believe.
Yeah, that's him. So that'll be another one as well they'll be looking at. But they obviously want to bolster the defence and give some competition there.
Is the centre-back position then a priority for Liverpool this summer, or is it just midfield?
No, I think the priority is Bellingham and midfield, bolster that midfield with one or two, and then the defence as well. but they were getting in a defender as well as a couple of midfielders as well. But then obviously it's just a matter of like, are FSG going to actually do that? Are they going to get good names in, or are they going to be cost cutting? Because I know like they're quite polarizing ownership, I guess. It's quite polarizing. Some fans are quite pro them and negative, whatever. So I'd like to think that, they're going to get the names that are on the list relatively high up in terms of targets and spend a fair amount in midfield and central defense as well.
Hopefully, definitely. One thing that was making the rounds yesterday, and a name that we've been following for a while, and definitely excites us based on his potential. And if you took a look at his match yesterday, based on his performance as well, is Krefin Thuram. You're quoting or reporting around 30 million euros, not pounds, but 30 million euros would be enough to pry him away from Nice. Definitely interesting prospect and very talented player. What are your thoughts on his possibility of moving to Liverpool or having a summer move?
Yeah, it's a low amount, isn't it? So last season, Gualtieri was at Nice, and at the time, the sounds were it was like 15 million euros if the club wanted to come in. Then Gualtieri went to PSG, and then when he was at PSG, wanted to bring Thuram, and the figure at the time was just 15 million, which even people in France were like, that's just so low. This season, he's gone on, and I spoke to someone recently who covers Nice, and he's like, he's the best performing central midfielder in Ligue 1 right now. So the sound was, I think, like a month ago, like 30 million pounds. It's very possible that gets inflamed if there is much more interest in that. And there is an expectancy, a huge one, that he will leave in the summer. There had been like some initial discussion, and like Liverpool had touched base with him, but that's not to say that's going to be like 100%. He's a top target. They're going to go for him. It's just that a conversation took place very preliminary, and so there is a bit of an interest there, and he will be going, and that's about as much as I got. And yeah, 30 million, but that could possibly,
seems like a song to me. It seems relatively low, especially one who just got his call up to the France national team. So
he did, yes.
I think his star is on the rise, and got to get in, before that price jumps too high. I believe you
with that price being so low, though, Jack. Did you mention about him going in for him in January and nothing really materialized? Is there a reason why we didn't push that over the boat then in January?
No, I don't know. Unfortunately, no. At the time, we did hear that Liverpool were working behind. I think Romano did this as well. We're saying Liverpool working behind the scenes to bring someone in, and it could have been possibly to do with the young chap who's out injured now for you in central midfield coming through, and maybe they just thought, we've got him. He looks so good. But that's just me speculating on that. But you are right. Yeah, there was a little bit of a open end of that, because we did say at the time they're working behind the scenes, but that was the expectancy. Then just nothing materialized. And I thought at the time, because Klopp was in press conferences and he was saying, we're fine and stuff, but I thought it was a bit of, a bit of sort of PR or whatever, just to sort of like maybe bring prices down or something. But it seemed to be the case. But yeah, so obviously nothing materialized. No central midfielder was brought in. And obviously now it's quite clear that was the wrong move. Definitely the wrong move. They should have done something, especially with Champions League, achievable if they had a few more. So yeah.
Yeah, Gakpo just wasn't enough to push us over the hump there. The young chap you're referencing, Stefan Bajcetic, the Spanish-Serbian player who's out for the year. Kind of sticking with that Spaniard and Galician vibe, you recently put out an article calling out the most recent Player of the Month recipient for La Liga, and that would be Gabri Veiga, who you shouted out as a possible alternative or lower-priced alternative to Jude. Well, what's the possibility of him possibly moving in the summer, and do you think he's ready to make that jump to the Premier League?
Yes, I do think he's ready to make that jump. I haven't heard anything with regard to Liverpool. It was just more of like a data thing we put, and on the algorithm, he came out as the best alternative through the algorithm we put through. He is contracted to Celta Vigo until 26. His current deal means he has a release clause of 40 million euros. He signed it last year. Now, he is someone who's broke through just post World Cup. It's just been like ridiculous, just post World Cup. So obviously at the time he came through the academy there, And so they offered him this deal, 40 million euros, which is quite reasonable for Celta Vigo academy product to sort of coming through. But now they're probably, like they need to like get that higher because of just how well he's doing, as you say, probably like one of the best La Liga players, arguably at the moment and stuff. Sounds like he really likes Celta Vigo. I think he might be from the area or something.
Yeah, he born in Galicia, just like Stefan Bastecic. So
I
was
he
kind
is.
of
Okay,
hoping
yeah.
make that connection there.
Okay, right. So he's changing agents soon. And I don't know whether that will maybe be Mendes who'll look to come in. I don't know. That's just speculative. And then that would open up a lot of doors as well. But at the moment, Celta Vigo are in a predicament because the highest earner is Aspas, who's on 2.5 million euros a year. Now, if they're trying to push through contract talks with the player, so if they get that, even if they do, he'd have to accept quite a moderate wage, and then only then they'll be able to manipulate. Well, that's quite a harsh word, but like increase his release clause. So I don't know. Summer move. It's a bit of a cop out again, like possibly, probably, to be honest. But I don't know. There could be a few clubs in for him. I don't know what price it would be, though. That'd be the thing. It's very possible that he'll just go. But he doesn't seem to be a player that's what I heard, not like motivated by money or anything like that. Like, I mean, everyone is to some degree, but some more than others kind of things. So he's not going to be trying to push for a move or anything. But he's going to have a lot of attractive offers on there. Just the prospect of playing in the Premier League or something. I wouldn't sleep on maybe like Real Madrid perhaps, but and then I was going to say Barcelona then, but I don't know what they're doing at the moment. So yeah.
See, when the player does get a new agent, it does sort of already tell you that he's looking to move anyway, doesn't it?
It does basically, yeah. It basically
he's wanting to get out, yeah. But
yeah,
like you said, he's not that kind of person to force a move, but he is sort of hinting at the moment, isn't he?
Kind of saw that with Caicedo changing agents, and then that
was some
failure of Instagram post.
That lad actually said goodbye on his.
He did, yeah. But that's what typically happens. I feel with we'll be a bit more of like maybe not to force through a move, but sometimes it's just like to get them connections as well. And what Mendes can do is obviously Mendes is, because of who he is, obviously clubs to a degree, some more than others, particularly like Benfica, want to appease him a little bit more because of how much money he's brought Benfica. He's an important chap, right? But yeah, when players are like in the Championship, well, you find at the moment there's a lot of a monopolization of bigger agencies. So you got stuff like IMC Stella, who recently merged with CIA Base, and now they in a few years they're just going to have every single Premier League player. You have like a League One player or a Championship player goes up to the Premier League. Typically, they'll leave their smaller agency and just get swallowed because they want to be associated with an agent who's also an agent for that star or that star, because then they sort of see themselves as being that, if that makes any sense. Yeah.
How much team building is done on the agent side? Is it a lot of maneuvering, you believe, that kind of setting up their players in certain teams?
How do you mean? Sorry. So what the agents, how much work?
Like, best example for me would be, for example, Wolverhampton Wolves, who basically one agent shuffled all his clients over to that squad. Do you notice that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's pretty less. I mean, apart from the example you've made there with Wolves, probably a little bit less so in the Premier League. I mean, Mendes is all encompassing globally now. It's just ridiculous. And he has a bit there in Liverpool. I think you've got Jota, Firmino, Fabinho, and maybe one other who he does. And then he's also got, I think he's got Fernandes at United. So he's got a few things there. But I'd say more, as you mentioned, Wolves there, Benfica in particular, that kind of thing. And also with Mendes, Barcelona. So it does happen, but I suppose he's an extreme example. Not to that extent, typically. Not to that extent, because that's just ludicrous, like what he does kind of thing. But it does happen, yeah.
Another, I believe, Mendes client who played yesterday, Thursday, for Sporting, Manuel Ugarte, who's definitely garnering a lot of interest from a lot of people. Got carded, unfortunately, and got sent off, but definitely put in a good shift. Do you see him moving in the summer? I know not too many connections to Liverpool as of yet, but do you see him as a possible target for us?
Yeah, like it's not, it's just like a top quality central midfielder who's doing incredibly well this season, who's young, who has that fire in his belly. That would be pretty good, and obviously Mendes. So it's just not so much like, oh, I've heard that he'd go Liverpool, but more, even you guys, yeah, it's just like that could well possibly happen. Yeah, I don't know. Usually with the Portuguese clubs, they usually have like sort of a marquee sale each summer. So I presume for Benfica this summer would be like Antonio Silva. So last year was Mendes and stuff, and then so it could be that for Sporting Lisbon on the outside looking in. I'm not sure who else they've got there really, but that certainly could be one. I don't know too much about. I mean, he's even been linked to Newcastle and stuff as well, but I don't know too much about his contract length or anything like that. I haven't looked into it, but this is in the back because I know he had like a quite good performance against Arsenal, relatively speaking, and so yeah, and obviously very young. So yeah.
Has there been anything concrete at all regarding Ugarte, like with any club really? Because I think it's just more of the fact that fans want him. I think clubs and fans say Liverpool fans had me myself as well as put them high up on my priorities of getting this summer. And I think other fans from other clubs are doing the same thing. So do you think the rumours are coming from that just alone rather than anything concrete?
No, I mean it'd probably be that can happen. At Newcastle, we were linked to Lucas Paqueta last summer, and 99% of the rumours around that were just fan generated. It was just fans. So I'm like, oh, I love it. He's going to come, and it spiraled. And actually, the amount of reports, genuine reports, they were about him were very minimal. So with regard to him, I don't know. I mean, it's very possible that the Record in Portugal put stuff out about him and said, which could be feasible. Players are always approaching and having talks with clubs. It happens all the time. It's so regular, so that's why you can get these links and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's probably a bit from. It's obviously been whipped up a little bit from the game yesterday. But I'd imagine, I think I have seen his name before and stuff. But again, it's not really a player. I haven't looked too much into him. I did reach out about him to this guy I know in Portugal, but I'm yet to hear back. So it's been like a week anyway. So no, I don't know too much about him. But yeah.
All right, we look forward to update there once your guy gets back to you.
Fingers crossed he does. Yeah.
Damon, I know you had a couple of other questions there, specifically towards our current team, current players on the team.
Actually, go over a few players that you've put in articles in previous weeks, and one to mind is Diogo Jota, and I know you had to put this right, didn't you, on Twitter, because a lot of people saying Liverpool don't want to get rid of Jota, but you didn't say that. You did not say Liverpool want to get rid of Jota. It was a simple fact that was Newcastle wanted Diogo Jota, and I think the fee that was going around was about 70 million. So is there anything behind that in terms of Newcastle? I know you're a Newcastle fan yourself. You'd probably like Diogo Jota, and at the moment,
I would love him.
Liverpool fans are his best fan at the moment, just because it's just not looking good, and he hasn't scored for a year. I know he got an injury, but still, the other night again, he looked a bit shaky. And when you throw money out like 60, 70 million, I mean, sometimes you got to snap your hand off, and not inform Jota, you got to snap that hand off. And I want him at Liverpool. Number one, as a fan, I wanted him at Newcastle. Number two, is there anything in that seriously with Newcastle coming
in? As a fan, I would like Joe. I love him. I think he's great. And I feel that Eddie Howe would like him because of his versatility, his proven goal scoring record. Relatively young age. I think he's 26. Premier League quality. Howe likes Premier League quality. I'd love him. I think he'd be great. And I think he'd be playing there, then Isaac on the left. But yeah, no, I think the story got aggregated by a site saying that. I mean, it added words on that we didn't even use. It said, "Oh, Liverpool want to offload all their wingers so Jota could leave." I was like, I didn't even say that. And then I was sort of getting tagged in. It's not their fault. It was just people were asking, like Neil Jones, I think it was, and James Pearce. like, oh, there's reports that Jota could leave. Will he leave? And he was like, no chance. And I was getting like, Jacque Talbot in the mud. Like,
this is the life of a journalist, Rigo. If they don't read the actual words, then
but you just see a report and you go, oh,
like that.
Yeah, and then you see a report, oh, Jota linked to Newcastle. What, he's going Newcastle? Oh, right. Oh, and then, is he going Newcastle? It's like, no, he started. Then, it just goes, that's part of it. But no, it was just someone near Newcastle. I say, he's on there. He's liked by the club. Probably a bit out of reach financially. You can see why it ticks a lot of boxes in terms of the versatility, the fact of wing, centre forward, as I say, Premier League and stuff. And I sort of went to the guy closer to Liverpool, and it's like, that's going to be like 70 million for that to happen. And so we put it out there, and then, but yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I can't see it, but I find it interesting. Like, that's why I put it out. Like, because I find it interesting. I think that fans will find out, oh, wow, like, we like Jota. We'll kind of go, oh, we'll go for sort of a player like him. Then it gives you an indication of how much money they're willing to spend in one position. But yeah, obviously it just kind of got out of hand with, someone aggregated me. They didn't change it either. I asked them to change it. And they go, yeah, sure, Jack, sorry about that. And it's still up there. And by now, it's just like, there's no point changing it, is it? Because it's like yesterday's news. So yeah.
The die has been cast.
The die has been cast. Precisely.
You know what? You've put your article out there. People want to research it and actually get to know the truth and get to know how you did word it and how you did put it out. Then it's there. It's there. You can't go back against facts, and it's there in black and white. And it's if people want to argue that, then they're arguing against facts. So
no, for sure. It's just part and parcel of it, isn't it? And you do have to learn to have thick skin, as cliche as it is, because I've only been doing this a short while, and when I started it was a year in January, I actually started doing anything, and I had like no followers at all. And when you start seeing a name put out, it takes some getting used to, and I've learned how to deal with it a bit better now than being like fuck off that kind of thing, because it doesn't look good. So yeah, you just got to roll with it. Yeah.
I remember the first time I got tagged in, like I think Anfield Edition tagged me in an article, like I think via Damon Carr from thing. I thought, I'm a bit taken back by it. To me. I don't know how you do a bit of
crikey, did that happen to you? Yeah.
Just my name in like a sauce. As far
yeah. No, I hear you.
I don't know how you deal with that on a daily basis. I mean,
it is proper weird. It is proper weird.
All the time, so
yeah, it
just took me back a little bit.
Do you have the Twitter notifications turned on or off on your phone, Jacque?
On. I do have them on, but I don't, because I'm verified. It sort of changes a bit. So the only time I'll get something is if someone I follow gets message me or something like that, or I get DM, or if someone else verified does it. I think so. It's changed where normally I'd get all these things come through, but now it just sort of like bundles it and it just sort of chops it down and stuff. I am on there way too much for my own good, to be honest. But
yeah, you
part of the job.
Your phone will run out of battery getting tagged so much and getting so many retweets.
Yeah, it's basically like a home phone. It's just sort of plugged into a cable constantly. So otherwise it just get drained. Yeah.
Moving on to another quick question. I saw a tweet, or I don't know if you tweeted this out or just appropriated to you. Moving on from Jota possibly leaving, Joel Matip. Any chance of him being moved on? And if so, what would be the ballpark figure that Liverpool would be looking for, especially considering he's on a free next year?
The players I didn't have much detail on in terms of that. That was the group of players that were given to me as possibles to leave, and sort of some probables in there as well. I'm not sure. I would like to say because I don't know, but I don't know. I feel with Matip as well. I know he's been very off recently, but I don't know. I just feel there's something to be said for like dressing room presence and stuff, and like we've still got Matt Ritchie.
We love those, Jack. We love those players.
Yeah, is that unique?
He'll be until he's spotty. Trust me, he'll be until he's spotty. I'm joking.
Yeah, no, he's we've still got Matt Ritchie and Jacob Murphy, and people complain about it. I'm like, yeah, but sometimes you just can't just do a Chelsea and break up the harmony and be like, you're going, because you need a happy dressing room and stuff. So yeah, so in terms of the detail of like how much that player's going for and stuff, I didn't do my job too well and like investigate. That was just a group of players that were given to me as the players were moved on to sort of add in with the figure, which I heard, by the way, for the window, which is about £200 million, inclusive of a Bellingham budget. There's not a line I've gone particularly strong at because I know there's a lot of skepticism around FSG and stuff, and I just don't want to be winding up people up saying, "Oh yeah, FSG are going to spend that much," like kind of thing. When fans are like, "Well, we've heard this before," which is absolutely fair enough, like because that could well be the case, but it's just the information I'm getting. If that makes sense.
Regarding FSG, Jack. Regarding FSG, is there anything? We'll move on to the ownership of the club. And is there anything going on there in terms of investment? Is there anyone coming in investing, looking to get a small minority investment, or is there any U-turns on the sale of the club as well? I think a lot of people want to know the truth more than that. John Emery came out the other week when, after beating Man United 7-0, I think it was perfect timing, by the way, for him to come out and finally address the fans personally. And he said, he's here for the long run. He's still looking for minority investment. Is there any further to that since then?
Fortunately, it's not my thing, and it's just I don't have conversations with the people in those executive positions. It's more to do around sort of bringing players in, kind of thing. Without giving too much away. The only thing I've heard from that is what has been reported by Ben Jacobs, and I just had a conversation with Ben Jacobs, I think might have been December or something, and he said the sounds are that FSG are looking for a minority investment rather than a full takeover. It seems like that is the case now. And then I read something today about it being a minority so it can bolster funds for the summer window. But yeah, the idea of a full takeover doesn't seem, I mean, just in terms of what I've read. But again, it's not I'm not privy to anything on that front. I wish I was, maybe in a couple of years or something. But yeah, no.
As a rival fan, Jacque, what would you prefer Liverpool being? Would you prefer them being a minority investment, or would you prefer, FSG going? What suits you as a Newcastle fan?
Oh, you mean that's hard because I have to say, you are direct rivals now. I suppose. I think, yeah,
you are top 4 rivals right now.
We're top 4 rivals. So
you are looking to go further up. Newcastle are going to be one of the big boys.
Proper cynical, then obviously as a fan, Newcastle fan, ardent Newcastle fan, then I feel like keeping FSG would be the best. But that's it.
We'll end the stream. That's it. That's all you have to say. That's all you have to say.
I was just saying, that's just by default because you'll get more money otherwise if it's a minority. I like Liverpool a lot, and so I do hope whatever you realise the potential, what Klopp's done is continued and stuff. And I do generally mean that as a reporter, I suppose. But yeah, as a Newcastle fan, it would benefit us if you were under FSG and didn't have that boost, and you're playing the money ball thing, right? Which has worked before, and they have done a bit of the stadium and stuff. But I suppose the frustration is that your size, which is top 2, 1, 2, whatever one, probably number 1 biggest club in the Premier League.
People tend to forget that, Jack. People tend to forget that. I mean, we're happy with 1 league title, mate. We're happy with being Leicester fans. I mean,
and so that's the trouble with it, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you Klopp came in to say it was Chelsea or something, then but Liverpool, they're the biggest or second biggest, whatever you want to call it, first biggest, I would say, club in the Premier League. So, and you want to be you want to be challenging for a title every season, as you should do, and Champions League every season, as you should do. And if an ownership is not doing that, and you're seeing like Man City or Chelsea spending loads, although Chelsea's just carnage, but like City, it can be frustrating as well. But I always feel maybe in these things, there's always a degree of like a grey area. So maybe if FSG aren't awful owners, but maybe they're not great owners either. Maybe they're just an ownership who've done very well, but it's perhaps time now to evolve, I guess.
Yeah, not so much. Even not even counting all the pounds and dollars spent. If it's spent wisely, you could still have a terrific team. Absolutely. Just take a look at Brighton. They're not spending loads of money, but they're definitely putting out a good product and a lot of quality players there. So it's a combination of both. Spend it when you want to get those top grade A level stars, and spend it wisely when you're trying to increase the depth and quality of the squad.
Another problem we have, Rigo, is the fact that we're left short every season. That's the problem, innit? I just think that one extra one. We're not wanting FIFA money. FIFA gets thrown around like Football Manager gets thrown around like. We're not wanting that sort of money. We're just wanting that extra 1 or 2 players, but we're left short constantly, and it hurts. It kicks us. It really does kick us, and it makes a big difference. That 1 or 2 players. I think if we got a midfielder last summer, I think we'd have got the quadruple. Honestly, it's that much of a difference. Instead of blaming like referees and blaming luck and Man City doing this and financially doing this, and we need to look at ourselves, and we've got to make our own luck sometimes. And just leaving ourselves short every single season seems to be the reason why we're struggling. And again, this season we clearly needed a midfield rebuild, and we've neglected it again. And it is frustrating, Jacque. I don't know how you feel as a Newcastle fan, but you must be humorous as an outside fan watching it. You can see the clear problems that's going on, and we're not addressing them. And
no, I don't.
As a fan, all we can do is watch.
I think if I was, I'm not like I support Newcastle, and I suppose because my job's in football as well, I thought it takes me out of that. And so when I cover clubs and I come on channels like this or engage with fans online and stuff, I warm to them a little bit. And so in that, it's sort of saturated any sort of rivalry, really. Like, obviously I want to beat Liverpool every time Newcastle, and but I still think you're all right and stuff, and I don't want you to see you crumble or like in despair. There's obviously clubs I dislike and like more than others, kind of thing, but no, I wouldn't say I find it humorous or anything like that. Like, you're not our biggest rivals or anything, and like you're, I don't know, very similar to Newcastle. Maybe I know
you can see it from a different perspective, though, can't you? You can see. I mean, it's frustrating us as fans that we can see clear problems, but then it's not being addressed. I mean, someone looking from the outside like yourself, how does that look? When you must see these problems just the same as us. We all got eyes and we all can see what's going on, but yet we seem to be just glossing over what's happened, and it seems to be. It's hard, really, because a lot of some of the fans and journalists in this fan base at the moment, they seem to be glossing over it quite easily, and it shouldn't be. Do you think we have especially journalists, do you think we have a responsibility as journalists to really search for the truth as well? I know.
Well, absolutely. Accuracy is hugely important in journalism. That's what you want to strive for. That's NTTJ. Accuracy is number one. In the IPSO code, you've got to be accurate with your information. If I would say this, say if you're covering a football club, extensively and stuff, there's always information that fans will only get 10% of what's actually going on. And that will be compromised between the journalist and the club. And they'll be like, look, we're putting this out. And then they'll say, look, okay, put it out, but look, can you say this? And there's a negotiation, because if a journalist goes in hard, let's say it's, let's pretend I covered Newcastle in the Mike Ashley era. And I go in, he's a fucking like this kind of thing. He's fat and he doesn't spend any money, and you put it out. Jack's banned. He's not going, and that's my job. Do you know what I mean? And it's not to say them journalists are corrupt, but they do have to find balance in it and remove themselves, and they do have to maintain. That's not to say that they're going against their responsibility or anything like that. But they have to be a bit more frugal in what they say, and criticism should be there, but also they need to be relatively balanced, because if you disrupt them relationships, that's it. But I'm also not suggesting that journalists are holding back purely just in case of, and they'd never, they deliberately sanitize. I'm just saying that that is a part of it as well, that you do have to have a degree of decorum, and you can't just be slamming. And but in terms of for you with reporters, is there like a frustration in how the information is relayed?
Is there a specific reporter you have in mind, Damon?
No.
Okay, well, good. I don't want to get into anything like that, but I feel it's harder to. I typed in a report that one of your, I won't say his name, but I typed in his name on Twitter because I saw something, and I was like, Jesus Christ, that is just, and it was just every single his name, this, that, and the other, and I was like, bloody hell, that must be like really hard to take. That can't be, and tell that's not enjoyable, kind of thing. To take that, so that comes into it as well. Obviously, some people people are people and journalists are people, and there's obviously going to be fucking assholes in some. Can we swear? I don't know. Yeah, okay, right.
Yeah.
There's some like people like that in any industry and stuff, so that can happen as well. But I don't know. Go easy on journalists, man. Like, they're doing their best.
So, but what about when they're kind of waffling between, oh, no rebuild needed, we have everything here, to a rebuild's definitely needed, and then a 7-0 win, and all of a sudden a rebuild's not needed anymore?
It's you know what, with me recently, I think it's just some arrogance of some. You know what I'm saying? I think you can have opinion. I don't mind different opinions and things like that. And people might want FSG, people might want FSG out, but it's the same, laughing off other people, saying you're wrong, I'm right, sort of thing, because of a privileged position. And that's what I don't agree with in terms of that. I think you got to listen to the fans. You got to It's not just Twitter fans, by the way, as well. I think these are fans across the world. You know what I'm saying? I think there's a certain. I think there needs to be conversations, if I'm honest, between journalists and fans sometimes. I'm a big fan of the debate because it just gets everyone together and have civilized conversations and adult interaction. That's how it should be. I just feel like top tier journalists, and like you said, they've got to look after themselves and they've got to look after their connections with the club, and they've got to be respectful at all times. But I think there needs to be a bit more of a balance between fans and journalists, because it just gets lost in Twitter spaces. You know what I'm saying? It gets lost in the Twitterverse.
Yes. With regard to change, you mentioned before we go about changing the on this. The line was before that before the 7-0 that they shouldn't invest. They should invest, and they changed it. That was the thing.
Yeah.
On the basis of the 7-0. Yeah, I mean that just shows a bit of an inconsistency, I suppose. I suppose every reporter is I suppose and I often forget this. If I write an article and that's an opinion, and I do this as well, but it's just my opinion, and
yeah.
So if I read something, but I as well get infuriated if I read an opinion and it's published as well. It makes me, and it's a journalist, and it makes me even kind of thing. But it is. When I'm doing it myself, I kind of forget. I'm just thinking I'm a fan, just laying it out. But I suppose these are correspondents as well, so there is a relative duty there. I guess I don't know.
It's a tricky line. This is why I think there needs to be conversations around fans and journalists, sort of coming together and really interacting. That's why I like hosting the spaces, because, I might be a journalist now, but when I'm in hosting spaces, I'm become a fan and I'm talking to the fans. I'm giving everyone fan opinion and talking to people around the world. And that's what it's about. I think that's what it should be about, football, and not being. And there should be no arrogance in it. There should be no arrogance in, I'm here, out there. So, you know what I'm saying? So I just think there should be. I don't know about you as well as a fan as a journalist. Would you be open to talking to more fans and things like that? I mean, coming on here is just, it's brilliant.
I love it. Yeah, no, I like going to fans and stuff. And I get what you mean about I think there's a lot of maybe reporters that go through, they go private school and they get jobs at nationals and they go in and they just don't have perhaps the same life experience as certain other fans. And I do find that troublesome sometimes when I see that. And there needs to be, you need to sort of come down from there. I'm not talking about anyone specifically. I'm just saying, not Liverpool to any, because they get sort of minor celebrity status and stuff, perhaps. But yeah, absolutely. It's all about, and usually I'd find the fans are right for most clubs. They say Henry Winter. I'm not digging out Henry Winter. He covers he goes around and he covers England, whatever. If he goes to Spurs or something and he does an opinion piece on Spurs, I'd rather listen to a fan who's follows them every single weekend, because they'd have better insight, kind of thing, rather than someone that sort of fleetingly comes in. I guess I'm rambling now a little bit, but yeah.
You're spot on, though. You're spot on. I just think that crossover between journalists and fans needs to be there. I think I don't know. I'm not saying putting it on journalists to go out there and talk to fans properly, but give them a chance, don't laugh it off. You never know what you might hear. You might change your opinion after a few fans. You know what I'm saying? So. Yeah,
I get the frustration of it. Yeah, I do. But I think on Twitter, because we've had it, when we've had as a sort of point before, we had Steve Bruce in, and no one liked Steve Bruce for obvious reasons. And fans, it'd be like a Q&A press conference, and the fans were like to the reporters in Newcastle, "Why don't you telling me shit? Like, why don't you like why you like fucking bottled it and stuff?" And I'm like, because they're journalists, they literally like can't like at a press conference say, "Steve Bruce, why are you so shit at your job? Why are you?" You know what I mean? There has to be that filter there, and it has to be balance and stuff like that. But I appreciate what you're saying about, of course, like journalists shouldn't like laugh at fans and speak down on them. But I suppose also weighing the fact that like if I get like a pylon, it's happened a couple of times. You think everyone's at you, your guard's up. If I get insulted like 5 times in a day, you're shit at this, whatever, and then the 6th person that comes in with a genuine question, and I go, oh, and I'm thinking they're snipey kind of thing, but I'm not being that way. You know what I mean? So, Anyway,
it's hard being a journalist. I'm only getting a taste of it, but it is hard. It is tough.
It's a privilege. It's great to get to.
It is a privilege,
we love, but it's just the online stuff. But I think as you know as well, it's important to disengage from that and realize it's not real life. It's just Twitter. But it's hard also because it is a lot of it revolves around online, so it's hard to sort of separate, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of have to make that disconnection, and just remember once you lock that phone, then they're gone.
It's just pixels. It's just pixels. They can't harm you. Well.
But on a journalistic front, I do know your desire to be a top tier source by the summer. I know underneath one of Anfield editions, they have you labeled as a silver medal there, and you'll say that medal will be gold by summer. So
hey, mine's purple. Mine's purple.
You got a purple one.
I don't know what purple is. No, I'm taking Mick. There's no.
Oh right. Yeah, no, I don't know.
One, mate. I ain't got one.
The medal system's good, isn't it? I get it. I agree, and it's fair enough because they all have it. Like most of them do, and I at the moment, of course, I get like tier 2 and stuff or tier 3, which is understandable. Like I'm up and coming, and like, I've only been doing it a short time, so I got to prove myself. I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I was like, I'll be gold by the summer. I don't know why. I just thought a bit of motivation. Like, yeah, come on, get gold.
You've got to put a gold. If you get gold medal, you've got to put a gold medal next to your name.
Oh God, I don't know about that. That'd be something.
I think on the LFC transfer room, we're currently using the phases of the moon. So hopefully you'll be a full moon.
The full moon. I've got the half moon. I understand it, but at least I'm not. But I saw there's a Man United account called the Red Devils Centre or something. They've got like 300,000 followers. They gave Miguel Delaney the tiny crescent. I was like, that's so harsh. It's Miguel Delaney, one of the biggest reporters in England. They gave him the tiny crescent. I was like, wow, Jesus. And I won't go into that's another Liverpool one. Yeah, I'll leave that. But yeah, I want to get that full present with transfer room, 100%. Yeah.
All right, awesome.
We're going to give you a full moon soon, don't worry. I have power in that, don't worry about that. I'll power
Thank you. Let's see.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Jacque, for joining us today. I hope it's your inaugural visit. I hope it's the first and not the last time you join us here. This has been a great conversation. Lots of laughs in between asking on certain players and certain topics there. So thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to speaking to you in the future.
Thank you both for having me. It was a pleasure. Really enjoyable.
Oh, man. No worries at all. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Well, this has been the LFC Transfer Room podcast. Thank you all for joining. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to follow Damon, myself, and, of course, Jacque Talbot for the latest transfer news. Have a great one.